Hello, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second show of our Proppy podcast, and you are with me, Ivan, the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of Proppy, and it is indeed a pleasure to have all of you here. Before we actually begin, I would like to actually welcome all of our current Zoom live members who are coming in. We have 41 participants right now, and we're hoping to have more listening in on our podcast as we put up on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and in the future, other podcast sites as well. We do have currently our podcast site, which is on Podbean. So if you're listening in from Podbean, thank you very much. Welcome to Proppy Podcast. Today, we have a fantastic speaker, guest artist, a celebrity of sorts, distinguished gentleman, and his name is none other than Mr. Will Fung. Mr. Will Fung, how are you, man?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Hi. I see many familiar faces.
It is indeed a pleasure to actually finally have you here on board. I've been waiting to actually have this session, and finally, when we have our podcast last week, that was our first trial together with Sharon. So I was looking forward to actually have this session with you. Now, I'm not sure whether we're going to be just confining ourselves to 1 hour, because I know there's a lot of things that we can talk about together with you, Mr. Will Fung. And we go way back, right? We go way back. We've known each other for years, and it is indeed my privilege and pleasure to actually also be here right now with you. And I'm hoping that we can, not confine ourselves to 1 hour. Well, let's see how it works out and how it goes. If time doesn't permit us, we'll probably just go on a little bit, extending the 1 hour mark. But before we start our podcast proper, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself, because no one knows how to introduce themselves but themselves, isn't it? I'm sure you would want to introduce yourself the way you want to be introduced. So I'm going to leave it to you. Tell us who
Wow.
Mr. Will Fung is.
That's a very tall order. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Will. Just call me Will. Don't, Ivan, don't Mr. here and there, Just call me Will.
Okay, this is
Let's make it informal.
an official podcast, so I've got to start with Mr. Will Fung.
Right.
But after a while, we'll probably just get into the Will,
Okay. I like to be, I wish to regard myself as a kampung boy, so to speak. I'm from Muar.
Mapolang.
Mapolang, yeah, that's right. Our beloved hometown.
Yeah, man.
And we used to be schoolmates. And you're my senior for a couple of years.
Please, I still look younger than you. I would like to think so.
Yeah, you wish. Okay. I'm stuck right now. I'm stuck in Malaysia. In the past 15 years, before 2020, sometime around this time last year, came back for Chinese New Year. And since then, I'm stuck.
And you've been stuck here since then.
That's right.
One whole cycle. Last year's
right.
Chinese New Year, and now you're still here in Chinese New Year.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to, return to Beijing. That's where my base stays for the past 15 years or so.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's be positive. I believe everywhere there's opportunity in everywhere you go. So yeah.
Fantastic.
So
thank you very much. We are Kampong Boys. I can see somebody also commenting that more from Muar. How many from Muar? I tell you seriously, who's actually here right now? Hands up. Put out your hand, or maybe you, you just show a like or put out your hands to see that you are actually from Muar. Well, we've got so many from Muar. Kampung boy lah, Mapolang, sama si kaki Mapolang. Anyway, for the benefit of those who are actually listening in right now from all over the world, Muar is a very small, humble town in Malaysia. It is just bordering the more famous neighbor, which is Malacca. That is where most of us will also consider ourselves partially. That's where we grew up from. But we're very proud to be Muarians, not morons, but Muarians. And just to give you a little bit of stage setting for how we're going to be doing this podcast. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to introduce the people behind Proppy, as well as getting up close and personal with some of our more distinguished gentlemen behind the team, as well as giving, getting more professional insights. And especially today, we've got our legal eagle, Mr. Will Fung here with us. Will. Okay. I should remove the Mister. I'm trying to shrug off that whole CMCO vibe, and getting into the whole Kampong Boy vibe slowly. And finally, we want to get your thoughts in terms of what you see in Proppy in this industry, and where we're gonna go from here. So it's just a very up close and personal outlook. And I would like to also maybe start off with you yourself. I'm just going to go straight to the point. Um, how do you come to know about Proppy? And when you first heard about Proppy, why did you finally decide to put name to paper?
Okay, Ivan, that's a million
Straight,
dollar question.
straight to the point. Straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Yes, I'm sure everybody who's here was dying to know exactly what the heck is Will Fung doing with ProppyApp.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So what happened was last year we're all start, right?
Yeah.
So there was a point of not really knowing what to do. Uh, you feel quite negative about things, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to returning to Beijing, and that's my rice bowl, my livelihood, my career. Everything is based there, centered around there. So sometime in March or so I thought, yeah, let's what the heck, let's try to do something more productive, more constructive. So I start to open myself and start to go around different places, meeting with people. That was before March 18th, before MCO. so well, the day came, and during MCO for a good 1 to 2 months, 2 months.
Yeah.
Malaysians being Malaysians were really obedient, right? I'm speaking about myself lah. So doodle diam. So well, I really stay at home and do nothing. So we got to get online and do some learning, and follow some webinars, this and that. And right, this thing lasted until June. So Wilson, our founder, like to call him the man from the future, right? Man from future. So he gave me a call. He said, "Hey, bro, you're in KL, right?" I said, "Yes. Let's meet up, over a drink."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, why not?" So went there without any expectation, but I've known Wilson for now is 2021, right?
Yeah.
I think I've known Wilson for not less than 35 years. Since like I was 10 years old, something like that. Well, because Wilson was a classmate of my cousin. So I still remember Wilson. I went to his first birthday party at the Standard 6 birthday party, and I was the youngest one. Anyway, our friendship sort of maintained, and we studied in the same high school, St. Andrews, SAS, and he's your batch. So he was my senior, a couple of years. But what happened is Wilson got very active in China, and he was based in Shenzhen. So every now and then he tried to make an effort whenever he visit Beijing. He would try to call me out and we catch up. And 2014. So that's the turning point. 2014, he came to me. This is a little bit of background history, before the June meeting with Wilson. So 2014, he started to talk to me about, hey, Will, do you know the future, where it's going to be? It's a very philosophical, very deep kind of conversation. A simple man like me, right? So you just be straightforward lah. I don't know what you're trying to say. So eventually, after a few times, he shared with me that he got into this thing called blockchain industry. At that time, I said, what the heck is a blockchain? So he did not tell me a lot about cryptocurrency. He just tell me the technology behind.
Mm.
And he was trying to, to sort of approach me and say, hey, Will, I think maybe why not you try to, learn out something about blockchain industry and try to be a future lawyer, smart contract, all these things, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, I said, okay, let me learn about what, what the hell is, sorry, pardon my language, what is blockchain, what is
Yeah.
cryptocurrency. And for a few years, I even arranged, a session for Wilson to share with my comrades in Beijing and share with us what's the future is going to be,
Yeah.
crypto, and
Yeah.
especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. Too bad. I wasn't so convinced then. I wasn't so convinced because lawyers being lawyers, you're
Yeah.
very conservative and you
Risk
tend to
averse.
question,
Risk averse. I think
your
it's good to be
skeptic.
also careful, skeptical sometimes.
Yeah. So, well, few years down the road, I follow the news and then I do a calculation backdate. That point in time when he first approached me, when everybody, don't know what it's all about, and he already got into the game. So he entered the market when I think it's a couple dollars, a couple dollars.
Cents. Let me tell you, it's cents.
Okay, and look at today's value. If you own a Bitcoin, well, hallelujah. I don't know. Until now, I still, person refused to divulge how many hundreds or thousands of Bitcoins he's having. Anyway, I missed the boat, and simply because of that kind of judgmental.
Yeah.
Really, I thought, hey Wilson, come on lah, let's do some real thing, let's not go into virtual this, virtual that. Okay, I realized I missed the boat. But anyway, he never showed off, Wilson, to me. He never showed off, and he's very vocal about the things that he see and happening around us. He's a guy, very righteous guy, and very sharing, very sharing, and very down to earth. But sometimes because of his ambassador position, Bitcoin ambassador, you've got to be flashy a bit, the way he dressed up. But deep down inside, I think he's a very trustworthy and down to earth guy. So down the road, so he shared about, what is all these things, and we still keep this kind of conversation afloat.
Yeah.
Okay, June, we met up in Ampang, somewhere near his place, hotel lobby. That time was still very strict. So he shared with me, he said, hey bro, I tell you what, let's not talk about ICO. ICO is a term, we call it initial coin offering. Initial coin offering.
Yeah.
It's very active in Singapore, in Taiwan, and also very active by the Chinese players, but they can't do it in China. So they did it, out of China. So very active in few jurisdictions. And he told me, say, since you're dealing with capital markets, you're dealing with, he knows what am I doing in China. I'm a legal profession, I serve in the capital markets, and IPO, those kind of projects and transactions. So he said, how about IPO? Well, interesting. This is something that I'm quite familiar with. So he shared with me, for half an hour, flip through a few slides. At that point in time, June, I don't think we even have a team. So he approached me,
Not yet.
yeah. So, Will, let's come and do this thing together for the next few years. Temporarily, he's going to be the CEO, but I say that he's not hoping to hold the position as a CEO for good, because I know his plan. He likes to empower other people and the younger generation take over. That's Wilson. So he said, are you game? I say, okay, Wilson, call me in. It's a half an hour pitch, and with a few slides. Because I believe in the person, I know, I'm aware that I already missed the boat then. So June, I told him, I said, yes, call me in. And still being very lackadaisical, say, okay, so what's next? And every now and then he will keep me in the loop, informed of what's happening, what's the latest update. He did not get the money from me yet at the time. He said, let me form a solid team, and especially the technical part. We are a tech company. So the software development and the technical guys, they've got to try to pair all these ecosystem that we have in mind together into one picture. So I say, well, take your time. He said, bro, it's not a matter of taking my time. We've got to rush, into this thing, and we don't have 5 years, 10 years to wait. So well, that's the June story, and yeah, go back to you, and maybe we can start something later. What happened after October?
Well, interestingly, let me also give you a little bit of background as in who Mr. Will Fung is. I know Will because we were schoolmates actually, and that's what he said. I say he was our junior in school, but he was definitely a talent even way back then. Being a senior in the school, we actually talk about those uniform bodies or even clubs. We have already identified Mr. That Will as one of those young talents that's going to be taking over our position. Even back then in school, he's always been very vocal. He's also very charismatic. He's also very he's a born leader. We can see that in Mr. Will Fung, and actually he's currently the senior foreign counsel for Grandall law firm in Beijing, and he's been there for a couple of years. And like you said, he alluded to the fact that we were all stuck. I was also stuck. I travel in and out of Cambodia. And when we were both stuck here in Malaysia, I was surprised to actually find that he was in Malaysia when I thought that he went back to Beijing just before the lockdown. And lo and behold, actually, he is here. And I was completely caught by surprise. I said, "What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to be in Beijing?" And he is currently the Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce chairman. And that is that really puts him in the know with a lot of industry captains, both in China as well as in Malaysia. And also, his key area is corporate and commercial mergers and acquisitions, FDI, inbound and outbound, finance and banking. I got a whole list to read about what Will actually has achieved, and he advises foreign clients on M&A and FDI in China. He handles corporate restructuring, joint ventures in service-oriented industries such as media, arts. He's acted as leading counsel in areas involving outbound investment, representing Chinese state-owned enterprises, corporate clients in negotiation processes. I'm not sure whether I can actually say this in this podcast. He actually represented a very prominent client against the United States government. And we
Good
shall
politics,
remain
yeah.
and we shall remain and we shall remain anonymous at this point in time which particular client it is. And with such accolades, I'm really interested to find out. You've been a corporate lawyer, and obviously, whenever we talk about going into investing into companies, lawyers are very careful in doing their duty and stuff like that. What would your advice be for people who are also looking into this to make sure that they are covered, or they don't get themselves entangled into a lot of scams that we've heard about? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay. So as a lawyer, we're being paid, right? We are paid
Mm,
to serve our clients. So we've got to be diligent about it, because we're taking people's money and we're rendering our professional advice. And of course, some many times people say that if you want to sort of screw up a deal, go and seek for the advice of a lawyer. So so unfortunately, we're in a profession that a lot of people love and hate relationship.
yeah.
Or, out of these 50, 60 over people, I'm not sure, maybe once in a lifetime, the only chance that you go and approach and to see a lawyer is when you decided to purchase a property. You know, you go and sign a S&P convincing lawyers.
That's right.
But to us, you know, in the profession, day in, day out, we are helping to solve other people's problem. That is our role, you know. And well, being a corporate lawyer is not that bad as compared to litigators. Litigations, you get into dispute resolution, those kind of things. But as a corporate lawyer, so you are looking at things from first you try to understand what your clients need and what is your client's intent. You know, sometimes, especially deals involving China, you don't just look at the commercial aspect, you know, as opposed to a lot of countries, whereby, you know, commercial, dollar and cents, bottom line, what is the end game? But in large transactions, you talk about strategy, you talk about what do they want to achieve, you know, down the road in future. It can go as far as 20 years, 30 years. It doesn't matter, you know, for the first initial years, clients will suffer and bleed badly and burn money. You know, it doesn't matter because they already do that kind of calculation, what they want to achieve future. So from our side, of course, quite often, first thing first, if you get a deal, you've got to, you know, go through the motion. You go through the motion, you provide them with a checklist and what kind of industry, what kind of a due diligence, we call it legal due diligence. And we've got to scrutinize. And if we try to find target companies, they've got this and that issue, we find very proud, you know, very satisfying, you know, work because we managed to dig up a lot of our problems. But in real corporate world, and I saw Patrick, you know, Patrick is my brother. He was a trained chartered accountant. So he gave me this advice since when I was in my early days in practice. He said, well, lawyers being lawyers, right? Actually, you've got to combine your lawyering skills with business human. At the end of the day, you are trying to help your clients to find the best perfect solution and to help them to make the deal happen and not to spoil the deal. So you are right on one part. If you're a lawyer, a very, you know, so-called very hardcore lawyer, you go to negotiation room, you say this cannot, that cannot, you've got to follow me and you want to win everything, you are not going to make it big. So since the very early days of my practice, I already have that instilled, that kind of concept. So throughout in the past many years, a lot of my clients, many of my clients, they say you are not like the normal lawyers. You do not insist on a lot of things, but there are usually few clauses or few terms, and which is extremely crucial, especially the commercial side. And these are the things that I would insist. And we will be giving in a lot of cosmetic or a lot of small items give in. And this is a psychological aspects in negotiations. We try to ask, okay, concede. But comes to the very tough one, we say we insist. Why? And we give a rationale. And so this is our day-to-day work. Having all that, one thing I've not really tried is a venture on my own. So it's very easy to advise other people, advise clients, because at the end of the day, is your view, your opinion, and your advice, you know, and whether the desired results or the intended results will appear to come to our intent, that doesn't have that kind of guarantee. So this time for Proppy, finally I get a chance. Hallelujah. You know? Finally I get a chance.
And it is a very nice segue for the next question I actually want to ask you. This begs the question, which also goes to the point why Proppy. What is it that you have seen in Proppy that gives you that confidence from a legal perspective, or as a person who is used to corporate legal advice, M&As, and and you are used to looking at all these different companies as well before you actually advise on your clients to actually go and acquire them. So what is it that you have seen within Proppy that actually gives you that confidence?
Right. Ivan, truth be told, I see the trend, and the trend is very important. So I've been dealing with conventional business hard assets. They call it
Mm,
重资产 hard assets, right? And you've got to come up with a lot of money, because in a transaction acquisitions or mergers, you're talking about millions and hundreds
yeah,
of millions or even billions. Figures to us means nothing. It's just figures,
yeah,
9 digits, 10 digits, whatever. But I see the trend. And in fact, what I learned in China, I went there at a very good time. So when I arrived there, end of 2005, and I started my practice in 2006, and I start to witness the growth of China, so to
mm,
speak. So you remember what happened in China? 2001, they just joined WTO, and they've got all these compliance and all this framework. And what happened in 2003? 2003, something happened. A pandemic happened, SARS,
yes,
and all the plans did not really take off. Okay? And wait until about for 2 years, until 2005, more or less settled. And 2005, 2006, that was the time that I landed in Beijing. And one of my ex-colleagues is in the group, and he can testify that we were like 18, 20 hours a day, no joke, for a very prolonged period, in one project, because something big is happening in Beijing, in China as a whole. So that was a lot of infrastructure work, because Olympics came about in 2008, and infra work, and all kind of industry starts to pour in, FDI starts to pour into China. But what happened? There was a transition in 2008 till 2010. That was the time there was a restructuring process happening in China, that they encouraged the Chinese player to go outbound. So that was the turning point. That's where a lot of state-owned enterprise, they try to amalgamate within in China itself. And when did the tech industry surface? The tech industry, Alibaba has been there for the longest time, but I don't know about other people. To me, I don't know. I've never heard of the name of Alibaba until maybe in 2008 or 2010, something like that, when SoftBank came into the picture.
mm-hmm,
And initially, when Alibaba started, it was just a B2B platform. And at that time, there weren't even the existence of WeChat.
not yet.
For the information of
Sorry, we'll.
those of you that have not been to China, uh, yeah, sorry, China.
Sorry,
So
yeah, I
what
think there was
happened?
a bit of a slack. I think you got to repeat the entire sentence. Those of you who have not been to China.
Okay, okay, yeah. Are you aware that in China, the access to Facebook, WhatsApp, social
Mm.
medias that's
It's all
American
banned.
based is extremely difficult.
You
Is it?
have got to use VPN. I know. I
Yeah, that's
remember when I
right.
went over to Shenzhen, I had to actually access my Facebook because I cannot live without Facebook. I had to get a VPN to access Facebook. Am I supposed to? Am I allowed to say that here?
Yeah, yeah. So it was very bad. And we still we started off by communicating with our friends and our
Mm.
families back home by using what? Yahoo groups, Yahoo family groups. So can you imagine? Can you imagine? That was then in even up to 2010, and the turning point came about 2012. 2012, I believe WeChat was launched.
Yeah.
Before WeChat, they used QQ.
Yeah.
For some reason, I hated using QQ. I don't even recall whether I've got a QQ account.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because even if you do not have WhatsApp or Facebook or YouTube, the Chinese has created their own ecosystem, the apps, and eventually, even this is what they call the Great Firewall of China, where you do not allow people, to actually come in. Eventually, it went out. People started using WeChat. People started using all these other platforms that was created from China, and that is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So for us that I've got a WhatsApp account in my phone, but just that accessibility, sometimes it's just ridiculous. You just give up. But every now and then, you still get to access because legally China uh, did not bar all these things, legally speaking, and they never announce and never admit that they actually bar that from using, but
Yeah.
just that, whether you are able to use as smoothly as, in other jurisdictions
Yeah.
are a question mark. So anyway, so um, the tech industry really sets in 2010 and it picked up from there. Initially from a very simple thing. If let's say Alibaba, Taobao is just to buy those products, and I hated to use Alibaba in the beginning, or especially Taobao, because you get all these junk, you get all these counterfeit products. At that time, people are still not very comfortable about the security,
Of the
you
e-commerce
e-commerce.
platforms. Yeah.
So it takes time. It takes time for them to build out that kind of ecosystem, right? Until perhaps 2014, when everybody becomes very comfortable, comfortable that the payment security is somehow guaranteed, and the products, the counterfeit products, is and not so many fake products lah. And then subsequently we have Jingdong, Tianmao, Tmall. So all these players came into the picture, and it becomes very crowded. But still, China is a very big place, plenty of opportunity. Sky is the limit, and the wave, technology, the wave, and I start to follow, and I got involved with some of the VCs and PE rounds of investment, over the years.
Yeah.
And I start to realize that, okay, this is it's really different from the conventional ways of how business is carried out. So a simple scenario to make it very, very easily understood. You start a business, immediately you'll be thinking, what would be the next thing? I need to sell in order to generate revenue, so that I can pay for my fixed expenses, I can pay your salary, this and that. But in the tech industry, it's totally different. People will be talking, burning money, and without any profits, any revenues. And this is not just in China. This happens in Amazon. Okay, if you look back, this happens in Facebook, and this happens in Google. When they first start up, without having all this money, you'll be thinking, how are they supposed to maintain, the normal operation of the company? And this is where I start to understand the mechanism behind. It's the game of
How do you answer
capital
to
market.
those? How do you answer to those skeptics who actually say it is because of this uncertainty that we do not know, and a lot of people say this is why it is so bizarre. How do you actually know that this is going to be the future, and this is what is going to be the next big thing? How do you make your GD? How do you classify whether a project is going to be, because it could go up, it could also go all the way down. In your opinion, from your expert opinion, how do you answer those?
There is no guarantee,
That's right.
The 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 rate of failing is very, very high, especially in a tech startups. A lot of people thought that starting your own business is very easy.
Oh
You
no,
just get a
it's
few.
not. I will be the first to admit as well. It is very
That's right.
hard.
That's right. So over the years, I've had the opportunity to invest here
Yeah.
as a early round investors, not so much of a co-founder, uh, maybe at an angel round to invest in China. Of course, all these ideas and business model, there's a lot of talks. There's a lot of talks, and of course, I invest in those companies that I can afford, and people that I think, hey, these young fellas are very talented, dynamic, and young
There are a lot of young tech
people, mostly
startups.
young people, and
Yes.
that's right. But a lot of these company just
Full.
bunkos,
Yeah.
within 1-2 years, because
Exactly.
why? To them, there's nothing for them to lose. They're young, and in China, they can be quite well to do. They don't have to worry about earning money to pay their mortgage, to pay their rental, food. But this is the kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So after a few ventures, I sort of told myself, I said, well, wait a minute. Is this the correct way? It's a huge, gamble, so to speak. So I'm very concerned and reserved over the past maybe 2 years or so, and I say that wait a minute, this may not work. This may not work in startups, and you really got to see who are the people behind, and not just based on PPT, right? Not based on PPT, but the actual persons. So well, for me, at this age, I think this is going to be my maybe maybe not last bet, but I believe in accumulated experience, expertise,
Yeah.
because when I get to before I made a commitment financially, I browsed through, I did a due diligence. I cannot
And that
carry.
and that is exactly where I want to steer this discussion going. I want to know exactly what made you turn. What were some of the considerations that you actually went through, and tick the boxes, and tell us exactly what you see that really convinced you that this time Proppy is different.
Right. So you recall, so at the initial stage, and just now we stop at June. So what happened was August, we've got a update, and every Friday we've got the so-called the core team have a conference every Friday evening at 9. So I participated as I choose, Friday night happy
Sorry, I think
hour.
we missed that word because it
So
didn't come in. Sorry, I got to cut you. But you got to repeat that. But I think because our line got cut off a bit. You
right,
participated as?
I participated every Friday evening,
Yeah.
the core groups, the hardcore
Correct.
profits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
participated as an observer, just listening in, at a point of
observer,
time. Yeah. I remember you were very, very quiet, you were just watching from behind. Obviously I'm sure you're scrutinizing. But what is it that you're scrutinizing about, and what was going through your mind at that point of time?
yeah, I've got so many questions. Whether is this workable, that
Yeah.
workable, from user, experience.
Correct.
How do you match all this ecosystem? It's a very grand design, into a well functioning sort of platform apps.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to ask you to hold your thought for a while, because for those of you who are listening, and if you're listening for the first time, you're coming in and listen to our podcast and you're wondering what is it they were talking about, I'm actually talking to Mr. Fung, who is actually our corporate legal co-founder and also our corporate advisor in terms of his legal advice. He's our legal eagle, and we also talk about how he went through his own journey in actually from listening about what Proppy is to being one of the co-founders, and also in the heart of things. And I'm very interested to actually know exactly what are some of the considerations that you took and you went through in terms of answering some of your questions, because those questions, I'm sure every one of us actually ask the same questions. Can this work? Is this one of those fly by night kind of projects that's going to just come in and go, just like everything else that we have actually gone through. And both of us have gone through a lot. We've worked in corporate circles for many years, and I'm sure we've also seen it all. But I want to know exactly what was it that made you turn? What is it about Proppy?
Okay. So we've got two founders, right? We've got two founders. One is we like to refer him as spiritual guru. Mr. Wilson Lee.
He hates that. Okay, he hates that being called spiritual
right?
guru.
So he
But
always
yes,
talk about things that we can't quite comprehend because simply
yes,
because he's from a man from future.
yeah,
So he tried to link this, link that, and we've got to digest and sleep over it overnight and say, hey, by the way, Wilson, what the heck are you talking about yesterday? So and he's a very patient man. He will say, hey, if you don't understand, right, ask until you get it right. So paiseh lah. So I don't want to bother him so much. So I try to check with people like Ivan. I try to check with people like Sean, co-founder colleagues, and say, hey, do you understand this and that? Then finally, everything is crystal clear. The vision is that we need someone with crazy thoughts, crazy ideas, and this is not conventional. And the dreamer being dreamer, there's Wilson, right? But the person that gives me a great comfort, that I say that workable. That is our another founder. There's our Dr. Max Chen. And that gives me really a lot of comfort because I met with Dr. Max many times, and he's a no-nonsense person. So he's a software programmer. He's trained scientifically. He doesn't use a flashy language. He doesn't use a deep language. He just tell you 1 + 1 = 2, or possibly more than 2.
Yeah.
And why is it more than 2? This is this. So from that kind of a very sharp analytical perspective, then I say, okay, so it's not just stop at dreaming big.
Yeah.
And we've got someone to back up. But I believe Wilson and Dr. Max, they short of sleeping together, I think they must have communicated with each other more than they communicate with their respective spouses. More. So I suspect that.
Yeah.
And okay, what happened was a turning point, October, when I say that if me, so honored and privileged to be invited as a co-founder. I know that my why Wilson specifically approached me and tried to give me this chance. It's not that he inviting me, he inviting me and begging me. No, he's giving me a chance, and his style is no worries. If you don't take it, we can still be friends. We just catch up and chui sui. Not to worry about that. And that's his style. And I told myself, if I don't get myself involved, when will I, find another opportunity? And this is the trend and the wave going forward in the next 10, 20, 30 years, And I say, Wilson, what can I do to help? So Wilson and the founders team, and they say that you've got your network. You've got your, you're servicing all these VC clients, PE clients, or whatever, but not yet. Let's not reach out to the institutional players. And this philosophy and ethos is also very shocking to me. And I believe has got to do with our founders' mindset. We believe in and creating that kind of eco player. Let everybody have a equal opportunity to come in and build the eco, rather than straight away approach the institutional players. And money to them is no problems. And by the time they come in, 10 million, 20 million investment, they'll be sitting there forcing us to think about their ROI, return on investment. So I believe very sharp. And sometimes I must really take my hats off. I must salute founders, and they think differently. They think differently. They say, let's save this opportunity, the seed angel round, for people that are close to us, and let's make it affordable for them. Not to burden them, but on one condition: you shouldn't come in as a bystander observer, because money is not too difficult to get, but he wants everybody to contribute in their respective expertise and portfolios, and try to grow the ecosystem. And this is exactly, I saw the wisdom in them, and exactly what happened to our technopreneur in China, called Lei Jun, Xiaomi, founder of Xiaomi.
That's right.
Lei Jun was superb. He succeeded even way before Jack Ma. But later on, in 2015, he changed his strategy. He wants to create an ecosystem, and he no longer become very greedy and become the big tiger, but he is willing to work with the eco players. And I believe with what Proppy have in mind, we are exactly trying to do that at this stage.
What do you find within the Proppy app as its product and also features that actually will be able to take us to where we want to be in the future, from your perspective, being in the industry and seeing all these different companies and comparing us from that perspective?
Uh, I smell the potential of becoming a first mover. First mover, not maybe Malaysia is a small market, but first mover within our region, the ASEAN countries, and possibly first mover expanded into Asia Pacific, and with our kind of network, it could even grow to a bigger platform. So we don't have to be a genius. First mover is that we roll things out fast and quicker than anyone else. But what we see, I've got a lot of friends. I've got even my relatives. My brother is in a property industry, so they are depending on the few conventional approach. Speaking of which, I was once a negotiator during college days. Property negotiator. That was my part-time job. Anyway, so they are relying on these very static tools. One is the I platform, and the other one is the P platform. Right, in Malaysia, we are very accustomed to, and they are all, although they've got a Malay word and are very localized, but they are actually not founded by Malaysians. And okay, what kind of listing fees we're looking at, and whether do they go beyond their capabilities, and it's very straightforward: buy, sell, rent, or whatever, and usually dealing with the agents only. Apart from that, nothing fancy about that. But even with that kind of platform, we see that valuation is tremendous. In the hundreds of millions valuation.
534 USD market acquisition by
Right.
the Australian owner, the new owner
Amazing.
of the
Amazing.
iCompany. Amazing.
So just having that small little thing. But can you imagine what kind of potentials Proppy could have? Because we are not just a property listing site, and we are in fact creating a entire ecosystem to get all things related to home ownership. Home ownership, and we've got two very powerful AI system. We've got two very powerful things which our every day our technical teams are trying to improve it. And right now it's still testing, for a couple of months already. Every day there are hundreds and hundreds of improvements within our tester, and try to give the feedback, to them. And I tell you, the way I look at it is, this is really a very good platform, and tremendous. In fact, we are inviting, this has to do with again, our founders mindset, our founders mindset. And I always remember this. They say, why should Wilson did challenge me a couple of years ago. They said, why should Alibaba Jack Ma dictate all the rules?
Mm.
And everything that he says, how much fee, how much subscription, I decide, I make a determinant whether I allow you to come onto my platform. Why? Why he has the sole word and sole determinant say, final say. And say, why can't we let this open it up to allow other players to also have a right to voice out? What do they think the rule should be? And this is got to do with the blockchain technology and the philosophy behind decentralization, transparent, and let everybody have an equal chance. And when everybody have an equal chance, if you contribute to the platform, everybody also will get their respective returns. And this one really, I'm in awe. I'm in awe on how this ethos and philosophy works in this platform. And from day one until now, I think this philosophy hasn't changed from at least from a founder's perspective. A lot of our inner group would know. In fact, there's nothing to hide. So everything is so transparent, and say every idea, no matter how stupid, is a good idea. At least it shows that you already, thought about it. And every now and then, the proppy word is ringing. so yeah, I'm very amazed with what could happen.
I know you. I know you. I have known you my whole life, in the sense where we actually got to know from school. But I've actually never seen you this passionate about something before. I've seen you being passionate, but I've never seen you this passionate before. This convinced. There's something that really has changed, has moved. And I also believe in life, there's always that one moment where we will always look back and say, that was that moment. Do you think that this is that moment?
Deep down inside, I think yes. And for some reason, I think funny feeling, and it's just not maybe, I think the team is and going to make sure that this thing works.
Yeah.
And this also uh, is reflective. You see, when you guys have a chance to meet with our chairman Tunku Nakyudin, and at first, all these royalties and who is who, very prominent persons, um, they will just sit there as a figurehead.
Mm.
But looking at what is happening in our company, it seems like one by one is being cycled by our founders, and they are so actively involved, and almost hands-on in everything. And they would like to have an update and lend their names, and not just their names. I believe it is going to be a record. If one day we share out what happened, and they are invited to come in, and they also got to pay. It's not it's not for free. So this is going to be a very good attraction, because we know that in Malaysia, when we invite someone of that status,
Yeah.
they say, okay, use my name, no problem, as long as every month you give me 10,000-20,000 director's fee or whatever. But I did not see this happening in Proppy. But what I saw and continuously seeing is that right from the core, everybody is contributing their respective expertise and networks, and we are building for a long-term roadmap and progress. And even now, as we're talking about angel round, and I'm very amazed, Proppy just formally incorporated in which
October.
October, October, and now is February. So in January we closed the founders and seed, and now we are rolling out angel and was given to where that a lot of our takers already taken up all these subscription, and thanks to you guys because of our fast pace, and out of sudden buta I'm asked to look at the prospectus, the info memorandum, the compliance issue to convert a private limited to a public listed unlisted public company. All this issue is alien to me in Malaysia. But I'm willing to spend time, usually at night, midnight, and just to go through and so that not to drag everyone back. So I'm very excited. And all this product team, property team, and thought process is very comprehensive.
It is very hard for us to actually explain in one sitting what is Proppy. But if I were to ask you to actually explain in one as succinct as possible, how would you describe for our listeners to understand what is Proppy, so that made you so passionate about that is going to change and revolutionize our future?
We are
I know
really
it's a tall task. But if I were to ask you succinctly to actually describe what Proppy is, so that people understand exactly what made you so passionate about Proppy.
we are making a real impact in how property is transacted. So this impact is real and is proven, and with the lobbying work, we're going to we're moving. And with this, thanks to COVID-19, and the way of conducting business has already changed, and
Yes,
people are more
exactly.
receptive and adaptive. The agility is there. So we are.
You know what I like about where we are at is that we don't really need to build the groundwork. A lot of times whenever we do into a new project, you actually create something that is new. You've got to take time to actually build the groundwork. You got to go and lay down the groundwork. You got to lay down the foundation, build a long time. And that's where Alibaba spent a lot of time and money building that to be where they are today. It took them maybe 20 years, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and and I'm sure the I company and the P company and the many other companies that has also capitalized on the internet to reach where they are. It took them many years, 20 over years. What I really like where we are at is it's just like a scaffolding effect. We are actually on level 4 and 5. They have spent all the money building 4 levels, and we are just here helicoptering in and actually enhancing level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and beyond. But for those skeptics out there, what would your advice be to them? A lot of them will say, "Yao gam ke si meh? Cannot be one. Is that such a good thing? There cannot be so good one lah." What is it that you're doing that isn't out there already?
Yeah, for the skeptics, I would say that there is no hard sell. I have never seen us, the founders team, or the core Proppians hard selling to people and try to convince them to come in.
You're the last person that I know would ever hard sell anything. Not even durians. I would lah. Patrick is here. I would, but you're the last person I would imagine to be able to hard sell anything.
Yeah. So,
but this is quite hard sell. Why? So what is it to the skeptics out there?
there's only one thing. What if, and I'm quite sure, it's a matter of how far we could go, because we discussed about this, and right now there are already some talks in the market. We already created some attention even before we launch, and there are people trying to approach us. Is this for sale? And within us internally, we already have a figure which can be quite ridiculous to the outsiders. We are already say, if anything below this certain billion, no, there's no point talking to us. So we would really want to build it, from scratch. And to the critics, the skeptics, to me, I only have this thing. I say, if I do make it, please don't come back and say, hey, Will, you bocho last time. You know, you got all these wonderful things you bocho, but it's okay. Because to a lot of my friends and relatives, I say that there is no such thing as 100% a sure win,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure gain. This is an investment. It's a business investment. But we know what we're doing, and every step that we're taking, even now as we entering into Angel, we're already put the foundation, the path for PE. So we know who are the VCs, you know, serial A, B, C, D, who are the people that we want to pitch, and we build that kind of foundation. That's why the momentum for today. Some of my friends, I thank you for your time, you know, to dial in and join us. And I told you, it's nothing got to do with selling. You know, I'm not asking you to invest and give us money. I'm not in the business of selling property, but I'm saying that if you find that you're curious about this thing, what's ProppyApp? You know, uh, we can connect offline. I may not be the best person, but I will try to connect the best person to, you know, to follow up, and yeah, and eventually you may take a look and say, okay, no, this is not my cup of tea. No problems, no problems. Uh, yeah, but at the very least, I've discharged my obligations and duties as a fellow good friends. You know, known you for many years, and I don't simply just blast it. Uh, so so especially when I blast something, people actually do take note on, you know.
Well, I have to say that today we are at we went up to 55 eyes. I've seen 55 eyes as participants. This is our record, man. We have never had so many eyes or listeners who are here right now. And we've gone past our 1 hour, and I would like to continue, but I'm just going to maybe just just end with one final word and also one final question. There are three types of people in this world that we all know. You know, we've been in the corporate world, and I use this in my corporate training as well. And we say that there are people who make things happen. These are the people who are like Jack Ma or even Elon Musk, and a lot of people tend to classify them as the movers and shakers and the game changers. Then the second type of people who are waiting for things to happen, and most of us unfortunately fall in this category, who are always given the gift of hindsight, where, wow, you know, Igu got chance if I had when I was there when Grab was asking me for to invest, I would have done it lah. You know, or I should have lah. Last time when I bought Bitcoin at 1,000 ringgit last time, I should have bought more lah. You know, and we always end up with a fantastic gift of hindsight. You know, if the next wave come, I will never, I will wait for it lah. So that's the second type of people. You know, you wait for things to happen, but eventually never happens, isn't it? And of course, the last type of people is the people who do not know what happened. The wave came, the wave gone, and they're still, you know, in the world of their own. I think this is very pertinent about how we also view things like this, projects like this. I know it is important for us to be very risk averse, to be very careful, to very prudent in terms of identifying the kind of projects we want to get ourselves involved in, to also make sure that whatever money that we invest in, there is proper ROI and such. But I also like to agree with you, and I that you allude to the fact that actually opportunities like this don't come very often, because how many of us actually sit in the same garage as Steve Jobs when he came up with Apple, or the garage with Jeff Bezos when they came out with Amazon, or the garage with Jack Ma, or the room with Jack Ma, the 18 of them who sat down together and said, let's do something interesting with the internet, e-commerce back in 2003 or 2004 or whatever, you know, at that point of time. How many of us do actually get that opportunity? And when I think the most important question is, when that opportunity actually come, how many of us actually can see it and seize it? So on that note, I want to ask you as well, in this context, where we are heading, what now for you and Proppy, and where do you see us being able to move forward and grow?
Okay. we in the past few months, because a lot of people may not know the who are the founders, who are we, things like that. They tend to believe in the celebrity sort of techno guys. If you know this and that, or okay, to some extent you're reliable. So this is something that I'm very excited, and what we're doing is that apart from making a real impact, and we're really creating something which is feasible, which is practical for the market, and which can empower a lot of the ecosystem, the ownership, and people that register with us, ProppyApp. It could be user, it could be a eco player, it could be investor, whatever, whatever role and whatever capacity. So if you do have certain faith in us, of course, I don't believe that one session, 1 hour, you could absorb everything. So do follow us every Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what's the arrangement for next week and in view of Chinese New Year. And but do follow us every Saturday or Sunday. Saturday is a Chinese session. Sunday is the English podcast. And get a few times, get involved a few times, and then try to connect to those that invited you here in this platform to get a little bit, to know us a little bit better, and what we have in mind, what we are really, what is Proppy. So having said that, to my friends, no obligations, not obliged at all. And thanks for taking the time off. But if for some funny feelings, if you think that you want to find out more, do approach us. Do approach us. There's no guarantee. This is not a money game. There are a lot of very prominent persons here that is not just lending their name, but actually contributing very hands-on. And yeah, the credibility and the reputation counts to us. And Ivan, truth be told, I think we are creating a history. And
Definitely.
and hopefully, we just like Jack Ma before he made it big, the IPO, the Gong Day, people always say that he's a liar, he's a con man, he's a scammer. so I don't know whether some of my friends may say that, Will, that you're, are you heading towards that? But in fact, these are the things that make the story interesting.
Yeah.
So if you really make it one day, well, these are the story that people say, doji, this and
Well,
that.
I think to give you credit, and also the fact of the matter that you yourself lend your name to paper, and not just you, I do the same as well. I mean, I've got my own corporate credibility that I've actually created for the last 20 over years, being in the corporate world as a trainer, work with a lot of corporate companies out there, big names as well. And I don't like to throw big names. I don't like to actually use these names and throw it out like as a badge of honor. But I think it is in some ways a testament of what you and I and a lot of other people have done as well. I think sometimes we tend to forget in that we ourselves have our own network of corporate partners that we have known, we have worked with, and they are here as well. So if there is anything that they would probably throw shade on, it will be it's throwing shade at us, at me, at you, and also like Tunku Nakyudin, or even everyone else who have actually served in our industries. And the beautiful part about what we are doing right now is that we are all coming together. It's like a full circle, isn't it? It's as if the two ends of a circle finally meeting, after going around the world, going to Beijing, going to Cambodia, going to Indonesia, Singapore, everywhere, and then coming back to Malaysia. All of us. Don't you see that you were in Beijing? Wilson is in Shenzhen. I was trying to get myself into Singapore and Cambodia and everywhere else. Well, we all end up back in Malaysia. But I think with greater wisdom, with greater experience, and also I do hope to a certain extent greater knowledge in terms of putting all of this together and learning from our failures to make something even greater than what we could achieve on our own, and that's what excites me actually, being part of this team, and it's constantly growing right now as we speak. More and more people are actually being they are capturing the vision. And if you feel, and if you're listening in, if you feel like as if you're talking in riddles, yes, sometimes you got to be part of, you got to get yourself wet, you got to jump into the pond or the pool, so to speak, to really understand exactly why we're talking in riddles, because there's a lot to absorb, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to understand. Having one session is just not enough. I hope that you were here in our last podcast. Today, we actually have Barely Legal with our Legal Eagle. And next week, we're going to be having more and more up close and personal with each and every one of the current Proppians. I would really like to actually have more Proppians come and share their personal journey, understanding as in what really made them turn, because each and every one of us and them do come with their own corporate baggage. And I say this baggage not in a bad way, but we all do have our corporate baggage, because we've been trained in a certain way to look into things in a certain way. When we do our duty, obviously it is important for us to do the right duty. We work in corporate, there's a lot of corporate jargons, but actually when we come in, let me be the first to say that all of that is thrown out of the window. Because the way we are doing things is really challenging the norm. And I like that. I like that we are actually challenging the norm, challenging the basic tenet of what we thought is what the corporate society and corporate world is. But let me also tell you, if you don't mind me sharing this, I know it's a bit extra time, but you know what happened to Jolo and 1MDB is the very essence of what corporate shenanigan is all about. With the same bullshit. Um, putting Goldman Sachs right in front, having them, front it while a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and that in itself is what the corporate world can be also. And we are not saying that we are angels, or we don't have a past. We all have mistakes before. We have done a lot of things, sometimes silly things in our past, but none that has actually brought us to the point of 1 NDB, and that is really a testament of that side of what the corporate world could also be, the evil side of the corporate world. At the same time, we are also trying to say, look, there is a better way. There is a way that we each and everyone can be enriched. But this is what we call as wealth distribution. If we are not greedy, if we are willing to share, if we are willing to come together to work to achieve our goals, this is what we mean by, in order for us to build a team, sell a dream, and this dream needs to be captured by each and every one of us within the team. You want to know what that dream is? Come and have a chat with us. You want to know what this dream team is trying to do? Come and have a chat with us, and we are more than willing to share with you why we also made this journey, putting our name onto paper, and why we believe Proppy app is the future. Final word before we close, Mr. Will Fung. I'm going to give it to you. Final word.
Yeah, all of us, we believe that Malaysians are actually very talented. So what we're lacking is uh, many times we dare not jump out from our comfort zone. So I'm enjoying every day, although it has been quite a while that I've got to, burn midnight oils and looking through hundreds and hundreds of acts and regulations in Malaysia.
Yes, testament, all right? So if you are actually listening in and think, are you guys doing real work? Yes, we are literally doing real work. We are looking at legal documents. We are looking at all the info memo, and we are creating all of that. So yes, we are all doing legit work.
It's very fun. It's very fun, and I enjoy every single moment that
I'm glad you are. I'm glad
yeah.
you are. And thank you so much for taking the time to actually have a chat with me tonight. For those of you who are listening in, Proppy Podcast will continue to play live on our Zoom session every Sunday night at 9. We are going to be recording this session and putting it on our Podbean, and then of course our YouTube will be sending the link out. Please like, subscribe, and share out, and also pass on this message to everyone that you know, that there is a new boy in town. there is a new team that is going to move and shake the world. Are you ready to ride on our amazing race? A date that we would like you to remember. This is not a date that will live in infamy, but this will be a date that will forever live in your hearts. It's our Project 330, 30th of March. Keep that date empty, because that will be the day that you will see Proppy launch to the world. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Mr. Will Fung. Come back again next week as we talk to more Proppians. I'm signing out, Ivan, and saying goodbye, good night, and thank you very much. And to go, I'm going to be playing my final song for tonight. And this is our Cuddle, the Noodle, Cavort, and Converse with all our Proppians. This is Ivan live on ProppyPodcast. Thank you very much. I'll see you again. Good night.